And now we're going to move on to the budget reviews. General government, who's going to...
Schedule, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, I don't think I have that. Okay, first we're going to the budget committee.
Thank you.
Or first, the Board of Selectmen budget review.
Well, budget committee is the first item, page 3.
What did we do about page 1 and 2?
You're skipping about. We're going to get back. We figured we'd try to get our guests through so they could leave.
You're farther along, Mike.
Are we concerned about our guests?
We are.
I guess we are. Excuse me. On the budget committee, yes, I do have a comment. If you're ready to go on that,
Yes,
Mr.
please
Chairman, I got a comment to make on the BudCom expenses. They had $350 in there for several years for their magazine. They used to subscribe and get everybody a copy of the LGC Town and Country, and they found that nobody was reading it to speak of except possibly Mary Louise. And you can see the peak number on what we have in front of us is 169. I suggest we adjust that to 200. They're not spending 350, so why do it? I move that we move that to $200. Anybody care to second that?
I think it's not enough money to get excited about.
I do. It's going to all add up.
And that's why I won't second your motion, but that's my explanation.
Okay. Anybody?
No second.
I guess not.
Okay, did you have any other questions?
On page 3? No.
No? Mr. Moore?
No, sir. Well, excuse me, I will ask one. The request for $1,000 for legal expense, which duplicates their budget from last year, was specifically requested by them, Mr. Manager?
We left the budget exactly the way they presented it.
So that's not necessarily as the result of any submission that they made to you.
I don't believe they made a submission, did they? Or did they call you and ask for that?
No, actually, that was added at their budget level last year, and so therefore it's come across, and the budget committee chairman asked me to
just continue the same amount of money for this year.
Thank you.
Any further comment? No?
No, sir, thank you.
Mr. Bean?
No comments, no questions.
Mr. Nichols? Does somebody want to make a motion?
We actually didn't make any motions last time.
We didn't, so it's
And
just...
to be quite honest with you, this budget is, just speaking for myself, is close enough to default and all that kind of good stuff. I think for the most part, if I make any motions, it's probably going to be at the end, haven't seen the whole picture in our adjustments,
Okay.
but that's just my feeling.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, so moving on to trustees of the trust funds, page 3.
Mr. Chairman, I don't see them in presence, but I did get communications. They're asking to have the same amount of money again for this year.
Okay. Anyone have any questions about that? Next, we have the Heritage Commission, 5.
What happened to 4?
There's nothing on
Okay.
towards the explanation.
Does anyone have any questions about the Heritage Commission?
Nope.
Mr. Moore?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Mr. Nichols? No. Moving on to page 7, the town clerk. Are you going to join us, Jane? Must be tired this week.
Oh, that's okay. I'll get caught up over the weekend.
Welcome.
Thank you. Dang, my legs are dangling here. My budget this year is down 4%, basically due to the fact that there are no state elections next year. So I guess I would leave it up to you if you have any questions. There are some wage increases per contractual, and I put a 3% raise in for myself for the last, let's see, from 2007 through 2010, I guess it was. I did not ask for any wage increases for myself because my employees didn't get any. They got their first raise in 2011 at the 2011 town election. Therefore, I put myself in for one last year, which put me a year behind them. So this year they got another increase, and hence I have put myself in for one. So other than that, like I said, everything is pretty much down in comparison to last year's budget. So I guess that would open up to any questions that you have.
Okay, Mr. Bean, any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would just say the town clerk and her staff and her volunteers do an exceptional and outstanding job for the town. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Nichols?
Yeah, Jane, the only question I've got is there any health insurance concession associated with your compensation package? The way
No longer on the health insurance.
Oh, well, I guess then there can't be any concession on that, can there?
To be concession in the other direction.
That's a
right?
big, that's a very big, that's a very big concession, a huge concession.
So I guess the answer to that would be yes. It's done.
That's it.
Mr. Pierce?
That shut me up.
I just wanted to make a little fresh remark, if I may, because she said last year when she wanted a raise that she was taking it out of her supplies. I said, we're going to be watching those supplies next year, and they went down, so I guess I can't say a word.
I guess you can.
Thank you, Jane.
Mr. Moore?
Hi, Jane. Just two things. You said your budget was going down. It looks to me as if it's up 3.5%. Am I reading the wrong
The
summary?
overall budget,
Yes.
when I said that, I was referring to town clerk, voter
Election,
registration,
okay,
and
thanks.
election
Gotcha, because of the
administration
number
as
of
a
elections.
whole.
Thank
Yeah.
you. And
It
then,
is broken into 3 sections, but as a whole, it's down 4%.
and just to confirm, as far as your wage is concerned, there's been histories that go each direction. Sometimes it's been done by a separate warrant article, sometimes it's been included in the budget. So if the proposed budget, whatever that number is, passes, and your budget and your increase is included, then we have gotten legislative body approval for that
Correct.
increase.
Yep,
And if it doesn't pass, then I presume we'll be back to you to say it didn't pass. So,
correct.
And you got to hear you complain, right?
great job as
We'll
always.
talk later.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jane. We
Thank you.
appreciate that you came out tonight, and you do a fabulous job.
Thank you very much.
She still has voter registration and election
Oh.
administration,
Well,
so.
that's-
We
that's
covered this.
Skip, but I think you already covered it.
That was-
That's the important.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you so much. Moving on to the tax collection. Another valued employee here,
Thank you.
Donna.
Good evening. My budget has not changed by much. It has gone up a little, $755 overall. 500 of that is in the tax liens and instruments, which is a requirement when we put a property to lien, we have to search for mortgages. Those went up this year, so my budget, I actually overspent my budget this year, so I made the adjustment into next year's budget. And that is actually a 100% reimbursed cost. The town pays for it up front, and then as a lien gets paid off, the resident reimburses the town for those costs. So that entire line item is reimbursed. And there is a wage increase for the deputy as part of her Teamsters contract, and I did put in a wage increase for myself as well, for the same reason that Jane did. We did not take any raises when our employees didn't get raises. So we put one in last year and we put one in this year because they got raises.
Okay, questions? Mr. Nichols?
Yeah, just the same question I asked Jane. Is there any health insurance concession associated with your compensation?
I'm not aware of, I know we had the discussion last year about health insurance, but I'm not aware of anything this year.
Well, what I would make you aware of is that the simple version is that the agreements with all 5 of the unions that were agreed to back in March involved their share of the health insurance increasing from 10% to 15% of the total. We've taken the same approach recently. I believe I can talk about this because we did not seal the minutes from that meeting. We've taken the same approach with the non-union staff, where wage increases are coupled with from a 10 to a 15%, from 10% of the total to 15% of the total of the health insurance. And I feel, and there are a couple of other